Get ready to embrace debate. First Take starts now.
Coming up on the First Take podcast, should there be a Mayweather-Pacquiao rematch? And if so, when? Plus, we'll preview the Bulls, Cavs, and Rockets, Clippers games tonight. And which team is the favorite to win the Super Bowl? We talk about all that and more on the First Take podcast, which starts right now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Take. Carrie Champion here with Skip Bayless in Bristol, Connecticut. It's always a pleasure to see you.
It's a great pleasure to see you. Where's my partner?
Our partner in crime, I wish I wasn't sitting in the dark here. Our partner in crime is coming back really quickly. He's in Philly. He's still at an undisclosed location. He's working hard, but he said he'll join you in just a few moments. Is that possible?
Because I beat him down so badly yesterday that he's running like Floyd Mayweather Jr. ran in the ring on Saturday night?
Yeah, that's exactly what
I'm right here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
I'm right here. I'm right here. Whatever.
I'm happy to see you.
Stephen A., how you doing this morning?
I know you are. I'm doing wonderful. I can't complain. Allergies getting the better of me, but nothing's going to stop me from being here. It's showtime. Let's roll.
I think you got a
Let's
Pacquiao allergy going on right now.
All right, well, coming up...
You would say that.
We'll discuss that in just a few moments. Coming up on the show today, the fight has come and gone, but there are still many more storylines, as the gentleman just talked about. We will discuss them all, including a class action lawsuit filed by fans against Manny Pacquiao. Plus, the Warriors lose their first home game since January the 3rd of this season. That's crazy. Surprised or not, we will discuss it. It's the third of the season that they've lost at home. Moving on, though, Manny Floyd Part 2. Floyd Mayweather sent a text to our very own Stephen A. yesterday and said he would be willing to fight Manny after he healed from his torn rotator cuff. On the rematch, Bob Arum says this. He said they should forego the fight in September, and they should wait until Manny is ready to fight in April, suggesting it's a wise course of action. Mayweather sent the following tweet. Take a look at it. 19 years in the fight game, and I've had one excuse. Don't have an excuse. Winners win and losers have excuses. All right, so Stephen A., let me ask you this question. Obviously, you got the text yesterday after you and Skip were debating. And we talked about this on the show. Do you see a rematch against a quote-unquote healthy Manny a good idea? Would you want to see that?
Oh, it wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't pay $100 for it. I'd pay the regular $39 or $49.95. I certainly wouldn't pay $100 for it, but a rematch wouldn't bother me at all. But I'm not an advocate of Floyd Mayweather waiting until Manny Pacquiao gets healthy to give the rematch. I'm an advocate of Floyd Mayweather doing what he does, going out there, planning on boxing in September, go ahead and box, tie Rocky Marciano's all-time record of 49-0, and then to break that record, give Manny the rematch once Manny gets healthy. But I think Floyd shouldn't disrupt his flow, his rhythm, his cadence, or whatever the case may be. He should continue to do what has got him to this point. Don't worry about it. He planned on retiring in September. Go ahead and retire, and then come out of retirement to fight Manny Pacquiao to break the all-time record. Matter of fact, I'm not a proponent of it being in Vegas. Too much politics going on. MGM Grand, love Floyd Mayweather, according to Pacquiao, hates them. You know, the ticket issue, the closed circuit issue. No, have it at Jerry World with 100,000 people up in there with that big jumbotron for them to watch it on. Have it in Macau, you know, near the Philippines. Do it someplace. Go into Manny Pacquiao's backyard and beat him. You understand? Because, see, here's the thing, Skip. If he were to fight in Macau, the reality is that that's going to be a pro-Manny Pacquiao contingent. The belief is that level of adrenaline and motivation combined with Manny Pacquiao being healed, since he's using that as an excuse, all of the stuff would be set for him to come out there roaring at Floyd Money Mayweather. So there really would be no excuses then. In front of your own crowd, with Floyd Mayweather fighting in hostile territory, okay? And on top of all of that, you being healthy and no longer having that excuse, then Manny Pacquiao will come at Floyd more than ever before. So this time when he gets schooled, there's really no, I mean, there's no excuse now, but there would really be no excuse then. That's what I would be a proponent of.
Interesting.
You like that, don't you?
So the more
yes,
you speak, the more you seem like you're warming up to a rematch.
No. Listen. I was never averse to a rematch. I'm averse to paying the price that people paid this weekend for the rematch. But I also want to be on a record, Skip, by saying I don't blame Floyd Mayweather one bit. As far as I'm concerned, Floyd Mayweather was the only person that was honest throughout this entire ordeal. You knew what you were going to get when Floyd Mayweather stepped into the ring. It's Manny Pacquiao who purportedly lied about his injury. It's Freddie Roach and Bob Arum who joined in to do the same. Everybody got paid. Floyd Mayweather did his job. He walked into the ring. He fought his fight. He marketed the fight prior to the fight. Everybody got paid, okay? Manny Pacquiao, Bob Arum, Freddie Roach, the MGM Grand, Vegas, the nation's economy, for crying out loud, sports bars and beyond. Everybody got paid. Floyd Mayweather did his job. Manny Pacquiao didn't do his job. That's why it was
didn't
the dud
do his
that
job?
it was.
Are you kidding?
Didn't do his job.
Okay, I'm going to save that for just a moment here. First of all, back to your original point. I want this in Macau. I want at least 1 or 2 international judges instead of 3 American judges who bow down to Floyd's mystique and reputation as they did Saturday night. Now, would I like to see a rematch? You know what? I'm going to go you about 10 better on this. I would pay $200 to watch a rematch here. I might even pay more than that. I don't care if another living soul out there in our viewer land would pay 1 nickel for a rematch. I do not care if anybody else watches the rematch. I want to see a rematch. My man, Manny Pacquiao, definitely deserves a rematch here. Now, I will be objective. I will be the first to say, Stephen A. Smith, I don't really love the fact that this rematch would take place when your man, Floyd Mayweather Jr., is 39 years of age. That doesn't sit great with me. My man, Manny Pacquiao, would be 37 years of age coming off major shoulder surgery. I don't love the circumstances. They're not optimal. Obviously, the greatest trilogy in boxing history was Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier, and obviously Ali was 29 in the first fight, 32 in the second fight, and 33 in the third fight, which, by the way, did take place in the Philippines. Maybe this one could take place in the Philippines.
Why not?
You never know. Why not home and home? What, an away game for Manny Pacquiao at MGM?
Okay.
And now a home game in Manila. How about that? Another thriller in Manila.
No disrespect, but considering some of the things that have gone on there, I mean, I think Macau is more feasible for obvious reasons.
The Chinese Las Vegas. We can do that. We can do that.
Right.
He's right.
Now, back to business. I'm here to tell you, your man Mayweather has been extremely lucky. He's been lucky in his whole life, to me, but he was extremely lucky this time, both before and during this fight. He was extremely lucky that Manny Pacquiao busted up his shoulder 2.5 or 3 weeks before last Saturday night. And then I'm going to say it again. He was extremely lucky that those 3 American judges chose to effectively bow down to Floyd Mayweather Jr. and treat him with his mystique and his reputation with way too much respect, and treat Manny Pacquiao like some unknown underdog challenger who couldn't win a round unless he dropped Floyd in the round or maybe even drew blood in the round. That's how that fight got judged and scored. I'm not saying it was a robbery. It was just an injustice, Stephen A. Smith. Again, little Manny Pacquiao went out there and fought his behind off. On my card, I had him winning 7 rounds to 5 because I was always taught from my first Ali fight that I covered 36 years ago that the aggressor wins the round. If there's no knockdown, and there were 0 knockdowns in this fight, the aggressor wins the round. Manny Pacquiao was the aggressor at least 7 times in that fight, 7 to 5 rounds. And as Manny Pacquiao said moments after the fight, he didn't do nothing. Because he didn't do nothing. That's why Evander Holyfield said, I'm sorry, I thought Pacquiao won the fight just because he was the aggressor. So again, do I want to see a rematch? Does he deserve one? You better believe he does.
I have a question. I have a question for you, Skip. Is it true are you not on the record saying that, I don't recall whether you were at the Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvelous Marvin Hagler fight in the 80s. I think you were there, but I don't recall.
I didn't.
But I do recall you saying...
I actually ran the Boston Marathon that day. I was supposed to be there. I watched it in my hotel in Boston after I ran the marathon, because that was my first Boston Marathon. Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
I watched it. I wrote about it off the fight that I watched in the hotel. Yeah.
I got it. I do remember you saying, though, that you picked Sugar Ray Leonard. You thought he won that fight.
I did.
Skip Bayless. Marvelous Marvin Hagler came out and said, he didn't do anything. He never hurt me. I was the constant aggressor, and I was the champion. And he was so furious, he never fought again. You picked Sugar Ray Leonard. He wasn't the aggressor in that fight.
Yes, he was.
So here you are with Manny Pacquiao.
When it was time, he picked his spots, but he put glove on face repeatedly. Listen, it's clear that Pacquiao damaged Mayweather far more than Mayweather damaged Pacquiao in that fight. I'm sorry.
Really?
Floyd was beautiful defense, all-time great defense, and very little offense. Manny Pacquiao looked like he was ready to run a marathon when the fight ended.
Skip. Contrary to popular belief for those out there who think I'm some bosom buddy of Floyd Mayweather, just because I did an all-access piece that they didn't get. Let me be clear about something here, Skip Bayless. This is one thing I will tell you I do know about Floyd. If you want this rematch, you better keep your mouth shut. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the way you're talking, Floyd has nothing to win. There's a no-win proposition for him, because he steps into the ring after being accused of being scared of him. He steps into the ring, and contrary to what you want to say, because you and Evander Holyfield, congratulations, you and Evander Holyfield, only two people on the planet who think he won. Okay, here's the deal.
That's not
true. The reality is, he stepped into the ring. He was in his face. He was on the ropes. He was in the corner. It didn't matter where he was. He kept slipping punches. He made Manny Pacquiao miss almost 400 shots. And here you are, after calling him scared, he goes into the ring. He beats him. 3 judges gave him a unanimous decision. And what is Skip saying? One day, the judges robbed him. The other day, he's hurt. And now let's have a rematch. Floyd can't win. So why fight him? If you want a rematch, I suggest you keep your mouth shut, because if I'm Floyd, why waste my time? Why waste my time?
I didn't mean to.
Why waste my time?
Please fight. Please fight Manny Pacquiao again. Please don't do anything.
You should.
I'll wear tape across my lips if you'll fight him again.
If I was him, listen, the point that I'm trying to make is, you can't sit there. If you said the man was scared, and then he went into the ring, and 3 judges, every boxing writer imaginable, and most of Joe Public concedes that he won the fight. The fact is, to sit here, one day it's an excuse about the judges, then it's an excuse about Manny Pacquiao being hurt, and prior to that, you're saying that he actually lost the fight. So Skip, why fight? If you're Floyd, what do you have to win? What do you have to win if you're Floyd?
How is it an excuse if a man has a torn rotator cuff that is requiring major surgery as we speak? As Bob Arum said moments after the fight, he said he's got the Kobe Bryant injury, torn rotator cuff.
Why haven't you addressed my point? But why have you ignored my point about the MRI? I'm not failing to acknowledge that he has a torn rotator cuff. I'm saying, is it possible, Skip, if Kobe Bryant tore his rotator cuff while he was playing basketball, is it possible that Manny Pacquiao actually really messed it up when he was missing all of those blows he was throwing? How come you won't address that?
Okay, what if he did? What if it was slightly torn and he tore it completely when he tried to use his right hand in the 4th round? Arum has acknowledged he might have exacerbated the injury in the 4th round when he had Mayweather pinned on the ropes and was punishing him. Yeah, time out yourself.
Hold on. I'm answering your question.
Yeah.
I'm answering your question. Didn't he punish him in round 6?
Yeah. He had to take round 5 off.
So, whoa. You just said, Bob Arum said, he messed it up in the 4th. Well, then what the hell was the flurry in the 6th?
Have you ever heard of an athlete sucking it up and playing incredibly hurt?
God!
Yeah, oh my God is right.
Next subject. Next subject.
Okay.
You're just gone. You're gone, Skip. You're there. You see it? You see it, Skip? You're somewhere out there. You're somewhere out there. You're unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
The point is,
there's no winning with you.
You should already have had multiple points deducted from this score on this show for low blows, because you are accusing Manny Pacquiao of making up, of faking an injury for which he is having surgery. How can you do that? The fact is the fact. He's having major surgery.
May I answer that question? May I answer that question? I am in no way accusing Manny Pacquiao of faking the rotator cuff injury. I am sure that the surgery is not fake, that he tore his rotator cuff, that all of those injuries that he sustained were legitimate. Where I part ways with someone like you or anyone who thinks like you is I think his arm, his shoulder was more than good enough entering the fight. When he got in the ring and he started missing all of those blows, he exacerbated whatever minor injury he may have had. He made it considerably worse, and that is what I believe happened. I believe that the product, if you swing, Skip, if you're playing basketball like Kobe, and you sustain, Kobe got his injury off of a dunk. Why is it not conceivable that Manny Pacquiao got his injury from missing nearly 400 shots he threw at Floyd? Why is that not conceivable?
Why did he ask for a cortisone, a painkiller shot, a Toradol shot before the fight? Because it was so injured, he was just trying to get through it.
You brought up Kobe. Kobe could have asked for a shot and went and played, but guess what? He didn't. Why? Because it's so bad, a shot would not have done the trick. So clearly, if you're asking for a shot, you've got, like the boxers have said. George Foreman came on Mike and Mike this morning and talked about it. Other boxers talked about it. You go in them fights all the time with little knick-knack injuries, strains, sprains, and the like. They understand it. It comes with the profession. Yeah. But Manny didn't expect to miss all the shots that he was missing, swinging at air.
The problem is here?
And that's what happened.
You are such, I'm not saying you're in the entourage, but you are such a Mayweather fanatic that you cannot accept the fact that you came in here on Monday and you ridiculed me about how your man schooled Manny Pacquiao, and he was schooling a one-armed man. Are you kidding me? It's laughable. He schooled a one-armed man.
This is first take.
I'm impressed.
This is first take. I'd like to address it since you personally attacked me.
I didn't personally attack you. You love Floyd Mayweather. That's not an attack. You admit that? You admitted it on SportsCenter the other day.
Time out. I love Floyd Mayweather's boxing skills, just like I loved Kobe's game, just like I loved LeBron's game, just like I loved Allen Iverson's game. Who was the person that usually broke stories about them that were negative? I don't recall Floyd Mayweather cussing you out on Twitter months ago. That was me, because I was the one calling him out. So all of this stuff that everybody wants to bring out, it doesn't impede my objectivity anyway. I call it like I see it. I believe he is a superior boxer. He is a superior fighter to Manny Pacquiao. I told you that. As a matter of fact, I told you you were the one that had me rooting for Floyd even more because of how much smack you talked about him in comparison to Pacquiao leading up to the fight. And now that chickens have come home to roost and I've proven to be correct, here you are with all of these excuses. I'm the one standing tall today because I was right. I told you he would win.
Oh, I just made up the fact that he needs surgery on his right shoulder. Did I just make that up?
He won.
Is that a legitimate excuse? The last question. We'll go to the next topic. Is it a legitimate excuse that he has a torn rotator cuff?
Yes.
Thank you. Next question.
Yes. But incurred during the fight.
It was all
during.
Oh, please. Okay, even during. It's an excuse. Come on. Stop it. Go ahead. Next question.
Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, at home, do you want to see a rematch? If you do, please tell us yes or no at the hashtag rematch. We're talking about Manny and Floyd rematch. Stephen A, half price. Let's stay in the same vein, shall we? Some fans filed a class action lawsuit against Manny Pacquiao and his camp. The suit was filed Tuesday afternoon by two Las Vegas residents seeking more than $5 million from Pacquiao, his manager, and his promoters for concealing his injury before his fight against Mayweather. Representatives for Manny's camp, they basically say he was examined by doctors before the fight and he was fine. Manny re-injured the shoulder during the fight. So, does the lawsuit have any merit in your opinion? That is the question. Skip Bayless, you first.
Carrie, Stephen A., obviously this is going to be tossed out as a frivolous lawsuit. But it's the principle of it, it's the motivation of it that just makes me sick. I'm going to say it again. Manny Pacquiao pushed and pushed and pushed for 5 years to get the fight of his life. He tears his rotator cuff 2.5 weeks before the fight, and he feared that if he announced he needed a whole year off for major shoulder surgery, that Floyd would back out and retire and he would never get that chance because Floyd might then have a legitimate excuse. Hey, I'm just too old. I just don't want to do this. I'm out. See you later. I'm retired. So Manny Pacquiao sucked it up and he toughed it out and he basically went to battle against the greatest defensive fighter ever in any weight class with one hand virtually tied behind his back. For that, he should have been applauded, and instead, he was sued. Just on principle, he was sued by outraged fans who thought they were duped. Yet, Manny Pacquiao, Stephen A. Smith, if he had taken an obvious dive in the first round, good, fair game, open season, condemn him, write him off, sue him all you want. Manny Pacquiao, as we just discussed, pummeled Floyd Mayweather Jr. in the 4th round and continued to do so in the 6th round. Manny Pacquiao fought his tail off for 12 full rounds. The fight went the distance, and Manny was competitive from start to finish with basically one hand tied behind his back. And you're going to sue him for that? Seriously, maybe someone should also propose to sue Floyd Mayweather for escaping and dancing and running and ducking and holding and putting Manny in headlocks and just fighting with nothing but defense. Defense, the greatest defensive fighter ever, very little offense. I repeat what Manny said at the end of the fight. He didn't do nothing. He did a whole lot of nothing, so sue Floyd for that. If it was a boring fight, and I agree, it got a little tedious at times because of Floyd's approach to the fight, but it's his approach to every fight. God bless him, but don't sue Manny Pacquiao for going out there and battling his guts out for 12 full rounds.
My response to that, Skip, is that there's no reason to be disrespectful to Floyd Money Mayweather just because of your feelings about this situation with Pacquiao. I completely agree with every single word that you said. Manny Pacquiao could not have backed out of this fight. He waited years for this fight. There was so much money on the table. He went out there, and I don't believe that he shortchanged people with effort. I thought that he wasn't the Manny Pacquiao that we were all looking forward to him to be, because he was in there with a superior boxer. He was in there with somebody that was too slick and too quick for him, and he never imagined that it would be that way. That's what happened to Manny Pacquiao. And swinging punches and missing almost 400 punches, he never imagined in a million lifetimes that anybody could make him look so inferior as a boxer as he looked. That's what transpired. I don't think this lawsuit has any merit whatsoever. I guess you can look at it and, from the perspective of, guys throwing a fight or whatever the case may be, a fan that feels robbed of their money because they walked in there with expectations, didn't get what they expected. But that's par for the course. Even though it's different in terms of first tier, second tier, whatever kind of language they want to use when it comes to tickets, when it comes to, participation in terms of watching a fight or whatever the case may be, to me it's tantamount to going to an NBA game or a football game or a baseball game, looking forward to seeing individuals individuals, and they're either not playing, or in the case of me, Skip, when I went to Yankee Stadium to watch Barry Bonds, watched him get intentionally walked numerous times after I drove, 85 miles, and on top of it all, spent about $40, $50 for parking and about $40 for popcorn and soda and all this stuff. I know I'm not supposed to be eating that stuff, but I did that day, damn it. That's what happened. The point is that all of that stuff, I wanted to see Barry Bonds. And I saw him intentionally walk. It got on my nerves. It raked my nerves. And so for me, but you paid for the game. You paid for the fight. To me, there's no merit to this whatsoever. I completely agree with you that Manny should be left alone on this. Being ridiculed by people like myself and others who expected more from him in the ring I think he deserves that, but I think that's all he deserves. Because it's not like he didn't come trying to win the fight. He did come trying to win. Okay. It's just that he wasn't the better man.
Okay.
That's all.
There we finally agree. One final thought on this. Obviously, this pay-per-view drew in a whole lot of casual fans and a whole lot of, I believe, non-boxing fans who just got swept up, captivated by the what if, could he, will he, and those people were expecting blood, they were expecting knockdowns, and they were expecting a knockout. They got none of the above, and it was a boring fight that we waited 5 years for, but it was a fight. It was a very competitive fight. And just because you don't know the sport very well, don't condemn the Filipino for somehow duping you because he had a torn rotator cuff.
I completely agree, at least not from a legal standpoint. But I do believe they have a right to get on him from a boxing standpoint. And what I mean by that, Skip, is this. Floyd Mayweather did what he always does. Floyd Mayweather never advertised or marketed himself as somebody who was going to do differently than what he does. The reason why the fight was a mega fight is because we all anticipated that somebody smaller than Floyd, but lightning quick, with considerably more power, would be the kryptonite, finally, that Floyd Mayweather had never experienced. And when Manny Pacquiao got in the ring, that wasn't the case. But that's why it was the mega fight. Not because of Floyd. It's because of what we expected Manny Pacquiao was going to do. And he couldn't do it.
Okay, just remember,
Period.
The kryptonite did not have his right hand. That's huge.
All right, so representatives from Manny's camp say that they feel that this lawsuit will be thrown out. Stephen A., your faces are very funny today. Like, they're more demonstrative than normal. Because you're saying everything.
I think if it was anyone other than you, Kerry Champion, that would be somebody's way of saying I look pretty damn good this morning.
For the first time in 11 postseason games, LeBron was held to 19 points. He had a total of 6 turnovers, 5 of those when he was guarded by Jimmy Butler. The absence of Kevin Love has forced the Cavs to resort to a new game plan. Tristan Thompson will get the start, and LeBron says he has to change his mindset. Let's listen.
I might have to change my mindset a little bit. Obviously, with Kev being out, it's something we all haven't been accustomed to this year, with him being out an extensive period, or one of the big three being out for a long period of time since I had my injury. So it might be a different mindset for myself and Kyrie.
All right, so it's a different mindset for himself as well as Kyrie, the best 2 players on the team. How much do you expect from LeBron tonight, Skip?
Stephen A. Smith, I expect a whole lot from LeBron James tonight. I think this is a huge night in LeBron James' career. And I'm going to say that's a fair declaration on my part because, as you always remind me, he is still the best player on the planet. I accept that. I set the bar that high. And clearly, if his team loses at home again tonight and falls down 0-2, it's going to be extremely difficult for the Cavaliers to advance in this round, the second round, past their rival Chicago Bulls. But in LeBron's past, different situations, different team, he lost game 1 to the Bulls and bounced right back, and his team won 4 in a row and won the series in 5 games. Now, that's probably a long shot in this series, but I predicted Cavs in 6 games, and I'm going to stick with that. But obviously, tonight is the night. LeBron James was not there for his teammates in the second half of Game 1, in a game that I thought in Cleveland was begging to be taken over and won by foremost LeBron James. Obviously, he is a pretty good sidekick now in Kyrie. Kyrie put up 30, LeBron put up 19. But in the second half, LeBron James went 3 for 11. That's obviously just not good enough. He got to the free throw line one time, shot 2 free throws, and made one of them. That's obviously not enough. 4 turnovers are way too many in the second half. 4 in the second half and 2 in a late stretch in which they look like they might make a late close, a late push. And his 2 turnovers, I thought, took his team and the crowd out of the basketball game. The rest of the numbers were very good. He banged the boards. He had 9 rebounds in the second half the other night. 6 assists just in the second half. But again, LeBron James is going to have to get to the basket. He's going to have to make things happen at the rim and at the free throw line. He's going to have to do better than 3 for 11 and 1 for 2 from the free throw line. I don't want to hear how great Jimmy Butler now is. I admire him. I respect him. He has made leaps and bounds of improvement just this year, obviously. But he ain't LeBron James. Tonight is LeBron's night, Stephen A. So I'm expecting a whole lot because I should be expecting a whole lot from the best player on this planet.
Well, a couple of things to note. I don't disagree with you that tonight is a pivotal game. It's going to be pretty difficult to beat the Bulls 4 out of 5 games in the event that you go down 0-2, particularly on your home court. I'll give you that. I'll also give you the fact that LeBron James had 6 turnovers, that they were a minus 12 when he was on the floor. That is not good. You're absolutely right. But I want you to take into account, Skip, that a bad game for LeBron James was 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 9 assists. 1 assist away from a triple-double. I also want you to take into account the fact that Kevin Love just went down in Game 4 of their series in the last one against Boston. J.R. Smith also got suspended in that game. It's not like there's been weeks to prepare for the Chicago Bulls minus 2 of your components in the starting 5. And I think that, listen, LeBron James is the greatest in the world. And I'm certainly not trying to give him a pass. It's just that we got to take into account the particulars, the situation, and be fair to the guy. He is the best player in the world. He's also a 2-time champion. He's also been to 5 NBA Finals. It's not like, oh, my Lord, he's choking or something. It's the Eastern Conference semifinals, and he's not stepping up to the plate. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. He's already proven that this time of year ain't much to him. The finals, that would be different. But this is the semifinals of the Eastern Conference. This dude is accustomed to playing in conference finals and finals. So he's proven himself to the point where we shouldn't be sweating him like this. The fact is that J.R. Smith is out. Kevin Love is out. They just went out. And you're going against the Chicago Bulls, who are fully loaded. Derrick Rose is looking healthy. Jimmy Butler's an all-star. Pau Gasol is a component they didn't have last year. Okay, what did Gasol put up there? He had about 21 and 10 rebounds, right? I mean, I'm looking at Pau Gasol. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
We hear you. Well, we hear him. He can't hear us. He can continue to talk, though. Oh,
well. I was liking what he was saying.
You did? It was pretty good. Okay, so listen.
He's actually convincing me a little bit.
Oh, well, obviously, the game is tonight. We'll see what would happen. And J.R. Smith out tonight. Kevin Love is expected to be on the bench to give some moral support. We'll have more on that tomorrow. But in the meantime, when we come back, we're talking about LaShawn McCoy. He had some very harsh words for his former coach. The gentleman will react in just a few moments. And Stephen A. should be back. If not, you can do the Manny discussion again and then make your point.
You can debate me.
And then you can just ignore him and make all your
points.
Maybe
I would actually win a debate?
Yeah, okay. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
All right, in an interview with ESPN.com's Michael Rodak, running back LaShawn McCoy was asked about what went wrong with Chip Kelly before he was traded to the Eagles, to the Bills this offseason, and this is what he had to say. He said, I think that's the way he runs his team. He wants the full control. You see how fast he got rid of all the good players, especially all the good black players. He got rid of them the fastest. That's the truth. There's a reason why. It's hard to explain with him, but there's a reason why he got rid of all the black players, the good ones, like that. Stephen A. Smith has talked about it. Other players have talked about it. When he let Deshaun Jackson go, I was like, come on, Deshaun Jackson. So it is what it is. Obviously, the Eagles declined to comment on McCoy's statements. The entire interview is up on ESPN.com right now, entitled LaShawn McCoy. I'm going to show them. Stephen A., I'll start with you first. I'm glad you're back with us. I know we're having a few issues, but it's good to see you. Tell me, what did you think about McCoy's comments?
Well, I appreciate his honesty and his willingness to be forthcoming. I'm not going to toot my own horn or anything like that, but Skip, you know me. You've known me for 20 years. You know, I make statements and I say things. As bold as this may sound, I'm going to say this so everybody will know. I talk to people. I specifically told you that the day I said that about Chip Kelly. No matter what sport it is, if I open my mouth and I tell you about a perspective, it's because I speak to folks inside locker rooms. Basketball, football, clubhouses, boxing, it doesn't matter. We have a foundation, Skip, you plus 40 years, me plus 20 years. We don't just sit there and make statements because it's how we feel without us saying it's just us and this is how we feel. When we sit there and we illuminate a particular subject, particularly of a sensitive nature, we do it because of what we're hearing, because that's our job. I told y'all, I wrote in Philadelphia for 16 years. When I get my hair cut, other than my boy in Queens, my man Marlon, I'm usually on Spring Garden and 15th Street with my boy Chris Brock and the crew. I walk around the streets of Philadelphia. This is where I lived for 16 years. I make a statement about Chip Kelly. Where the hell you think I'm getting it from? I spoke to a bunch of people inside that Philadelphia Eagles locker room, not just in the aftermath of losing Deshaun Jackson, but also with LaShawn McCoy, also with Jeremy Maclin. And what I said to y'all was echoed to me. I don't understand this, Stephen A. We gone, meaning those players. And Riley Cooper's here. Now, it wasn't LaShawn McCoy that said that to me. It wasn't Deshaun Jackson that said that to me. The players who said it to me were black. And they said we as in black players. Because they were like, we don't understand it. We ain't going to say anything about the man because he's a hell of a coach. He's very innovative. He's winning football games. But damn, how is it that Riley Cooper's here? First of all, he's not as good as these players. And secondly, we all know his history. So how is it that you're comfortable with him in the locker room, but we're somehow problematic? And then you had all of these people out there using strictly numbers. Well, you know, Chip just has a different way of doing things, and he doesn't want to spend this amount of money, and he doesn't want to spend that amount of money. I'll tell you something else, Skip, that I've been hearing. It's one of the reasons DeMarco Murray's in Philadelphia. Because Chip was feeling that kind of heat, at least that's what the players believe, that he was feeling that kind of heat because of the things that were illuminated, and as a result felt compelled to make a move. Now, obviously, that's not the only reason DeMarco Murray can play. You need a straight north-south runner, all of those things taken into consideration. But these are the things that I was told. And so it's really, really nice that LaShawn McCoy has come out and publicly acknowledged how he feels and how a lot of those guys in that locker room were feeling, because it's nothing different than what I said.
I appreciate everything you did just say. You know how much I believe in you, and I always have your back. and I had your back on this one.
Yes, you do.
And just for the record, going back to Riley Cooper, as you well remember, the day after that word came out of that man's mouth at that concert, I said he has to be gone from that locker room. The Eagles, as an organization, had to make a statement that will not be tolerated. That most evil word in the history of the English language will not be tolerated, uttered in public, no matter what the circumstance, by one of our players. That player, as you just pointed out, is still a Philadelphia Eagle. Now, back to what LaShawn said, and he did reference you in the course of all the things that he did say. Thank you for that, LaShawn. Back to one line that he spoke, and I need your perspective on this. LaShawn said, it's hard to explain with Chip, but there's a reason he got rid of all the black players. So I ask you, Stephen A. Smith, is it racist, or is it just the fact, possibly, that all of his skill position stars just happen to be black? I don't know for sure, because the Eagles obviously will not respond to this. Chip Kelly has never responded to it that I know of. I haven't heard him respond to it. So is it a direct shot at he's racist, or is it, gee, we were his best players and they just happen to be black players, and obviously Chip wants to be the star of this show?
Allow me to answer the question as directly as I possibly can. I will never call anybody a racist unless I see for myself their transgressions. Chip Kelly making these decisions doesn't make him a racist. It would be incredibly irresponsible and unfair for me or anybody else to label him that. However, as a black man, when you sit there and you witness what you witnessed from Riley Cooper, and then you saw how the Eagles handled it, basically sending him away, talking about, needed time, rehabilitation, education, or whatever, and it literally lasted a weekend, and then he was back. It reeked of insensitivity. And then when you take that and you think about the February calendar that the Eagles purportedly have nothing to do with, that was an NFL thing, or they put it out for somebody else to use, to do, or whatever, and that's how Riley Cooper ended up on the cover of the Philadelphia calendar for the month of February, Black History Month. Yeah, that's a problem. And then when you couple all of that with the biggest deep threat, Deshaun Jackson, gone. With one of the top running backs in football, LaShawn McCoy, gone. With one of a pretty damn good wide receiver in Jeremy Maclin, gone. It does make you sit back as a black person and say, what are you trying to say? What do you mean Deshaun Jackson was a problem in the locker room? What do you mean that, LaShawn McCoy's attitude or whatever? These are the questions. And what people have to understand is that when somebody black is asking you a question, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're racist. It would be wrong to say that about Chip Kelly. I don't know this man. I've never met the man. I could never say that about him. That's ridiculous. What I can say is, I'm sitting back here as a black person. We're talking about the National Football League, where talent is numero uno. You got to have the skills.
Yep.
And somehow, some way, a Riley Cooper is good enough to be on your team, but 3 elite dudes are not. There's nothing wrong with stepping up and saying, forget all this stuff about people calling you names and putting ourselves in a position where we have to defend ourselves. No, you defend why you made these decisions. Inquiring minds would like to know. We don't understand. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to give the Eagles. And by the way, Skip, for the record, for the purposes of this show, because you know how I roll, I picked up the phone, I called the Eagles. I asked for a one-on-one sit-down with Chip Kelly.
Good.
I didn't even have my phone call returned. I didn't even have it returned. I personally requested it right when I said it, and I'm still waiting to hear from them, just so you know. Nobody's running, because I would sit there and ask them, I'd like you to explain. I really don't understand. Please explain to me. Because you're trying to win football games, right?
Yeah.
Trying to win football games.
Yeah. Okay, so we got that on the record. Now take me back to LaShawn's quotes. One last time, let's go one more level here. LaShawn did say that Chip wants full control. As I've often said from the start about Chip Kelly, he wants to be the star. He wants to run that show. He wants it to revolve around him and his offensive system. Fine. But then LaShawn took us right to the threshold with, it's hard to explain with Chip, but there's a reason he got rid of all the black players. Well, if LaShawn had taken one more step, I would know more about what LaShawn's view of this really is, because he said it's hard to explain, which leaves me wondering what exactly is hard to explain. Can you read anything into that? Is there one more step that we can even theorize to take here with LaShawn, what he's seeing or feeling?
It's hard to say, Skip. I haven't spoken to LaShawn about this particular subject in quite some time. I really don't know. Again, it falls in line with what we're talking about in terms of when we're scratching our head. We're scratching our head and looking at it and saying, hey, what is this? We don't quite understand. That's all this is about. That's all I'm saying.
And again, to your original point, he did sign DeMarco Murray. Obviously, DeMarco got paid. He got paid big time, much more than he would have gotten paid to stay with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. Byron Maxwell got paid to play cornerback and take the void. There are a lot of voids at cornerback in Philly, but Kerry Williams went obviously to Seattle. So in the end, I'm still left wondering exactly what's going on, but I love it that you took that first step to at least open people's eyes and make them think about it. And now I would like to see the follow-up step of the Eagles and especially the head coach to respond publicly to this.
Bob Arum responded to Floyd Mayweather's text to Stephen A. that he would fight Manny after he recovered from surgery. This is what he had to say. I think we now know what the pitfalls were, and ultimately, with all the aggravation and trouble, look at the pot of gold that we both produced. I think there will be probably less aggravation in a rematch. We understand each other better now. There's a real possibility it could work even better. All right, there's a real possibility, Stephen A., that it could work even better. Here are the possibilities. Manny and Floyd fight in April of next year, and that would be Floyd's 50th fight. And if he wins the one in September, presumably, he would break Rocky Marciano's record. However, he could not fight in September, and then he could just wait till April, and that would be his 49th fight. Which one would you rather see, the 49th or the 50th with Manny?
50th. 50th. That's an easy call. Don't let Pacquiao disrupt what he's doing. Go in there, fight in September like you plan to, whip whoever you're going to whip, and then after that, move on and wait for Manny Pacquiao once you officially retire. It's really not that big of a deal as far as I'm concerned. That's exactly what I think he should do. Why should he let Manny Pacquiao in any way dictate what he's going to do moving forward? It's one thing to fight Pacquiao. It's another thing for Bob Arum and those guys try to act like he should wait until Pacquiao heals in order to fight again. That's utterly ridiculous. What Mayweather does until Manny Pacquiao is ready to fight has nothing to do with Manny Pacquiao. That's Mayweather's business. Ty Rank has nothing to do with Mayweather. He's free from them. He promotes himself. All right? And that's just the way I look at it. Do what you're going to do, and when Pacquiao is ready, take him on. That's all.
What's your best guess on who that September opponent will be?
I think it depends. We got to see Canelo Alvarez versus James Kirkland. We've got to see Miguel Cotto in his next fight and at the Barclays Center in June. We see how that goes, and then you end up going against one of them. I know people have mentioned names like Keith Thurman. He's 25-0, about I think 21 knockouts. He's impressive. I think people have mentioned the David Garcias, the Amir Khans of the world. They're very impressive as well. So I think one of those 5 individuals Floyd fights. And then after that, you go and you take on Manny Pacquiao to go for your 50th, because I think he beat any of those guys by decision.
What I read between the lines of Bob Arum's comments about maybe Floyd should wait and make Manny number 49 instead of 50 is that I think Arum would have a slight fear that Floyd would be resting on his laurels, that he would take a Keith Thurman, for instance, so lightly that he'd get a little too cute and he might get cold-cocked, and that could derail the potential rematch. So in Arum's view, he would want to keep Floyd completely clean, keep the 0 beside his name, and just make sure that this fight didn't just become, you know, sort of a sparring match for Floyd, just to keep in some kind of shape in Vegas before he went back to fight Manny again, wherever that fight would be.
Floyd should do whatever Floyd wants to do and whatever Floyd thinks is best for him, particularly if you're anticipating a Pacquiao rematch on the horizon. It ain't Floyd's problem that Manny Pacquiao has to have surgery and he's going to be out 6 to 9 months. That's Manny Pacquiao's issue. What does that have to do with Floyd Money Mayweather? Money Mayweather showed up on May 2nd and handled his business at the MGM Grand. It's not his problem what's going on with Manny Pacquiao. Do what he does. And if Manny Pacquiao's ready, he can come get it. It's just that simple. But he shouldn't sit around and wait just because Manny Pacquiao doesn't get to, just because Manny Pacquiao can't spar, can't work out, or whatever. That's his problem.
Okay, and speaking of number 50, the number 50, I think this time Manny Pacquiao would deserve a 50-50 split instead of taking 60-40 as he did last Saturday night. The reason this set all kinds of records, we don't know the outcome yet, we don't know all the pay-per-view numbers quite yet, but clearly these are mega records that got set last Saturday night. And a 50% reason is the allure and draw and attraction the audience brought in by one Manny Pacquiao internationally and also in the United States from the Filipinos and from the Christian sector. I don't think you can underestimate that in the United States, the many Manny fans.
I'm not underestimating that, but where you and I differ considerably is that I think Manny Pacquiao deserves less, not more. And not just because of his performance during the fight, Skip, but because now he has no leverage whatsoever. Floyd can walk away and go into the sunset.
Okay.
Floyd can go away. Listen to this. Floyd can go away, walk away into the sunset, and he could always have on his record that he had a decision over Manny Pacquiao. It's Manny Pacquiao that has to redeem himself.
Tainted decision.
He's the one with the hurt shoulder.
A decision with a big old asterisk on it.
I'm not trying to argue with you about that at this moment. I'm saying to you that at this particular moment, the bottom line is he has a shoulder injury. And more importantly, he is the one that disappointed folks, which was why Bob Arum and others were so quick to point out why he had a problem, because we were all wondering what was wrong with Manny Pacquiao. Floyd Mayweather is under no pressure. He's under considerably less pressure to take a second fight than he was to take the first fight. So if Manny Pacquiao wants it bad enough, why do you think Floyd Mayweather reached out to me on Sunday morning and said, sure, we could do this if Bob Arum is willing to put up the money this time instead of making us do it? Because he's putting them on notice. He's putting them on notice. I'm not lifting a finger. You guys do it. And we can do that. But I'm not going through this again. You guys go ahead, put up the money and everything like that. And that means that Pacquiao has less leverage. Because nobody's going to bother Floyd if Floyd doesn't fight him again, because most people don't even want to see the fight again. So nobody's going to bother Floyd if he doesn't fight Pacquiao again. Pacquiao's the one that has to get that out of sight.
I think it's Money Mayweather. He's all about the Benjamins, the big money that this would bring in. You tell me.
Really?
What's he going to draw against Amir Khan for fight number 49 in September? You're going to watch it?
He won't.
You're going to pay $20 for it? Seriously.
He won't against Amir Khan. He won't against David Garcia. But if he fought Canelo Alvarez or Miguel Cotto, because they're bigger and they've both been in the ring with them, and again, they don't have shoulder injuries, I'm here to tell you right now, I can tell you the Mexican and Latino, the Puerto Rican contingent, they will make sure they sit there and flock to that fight.
We've been there and done that. Didn't we do that before? Didn't we see what happened?
Their fights were better than Pacquiao.
No,
their fights were better than Pacquiao.
Canelo's. Come on, that was a joke. Let me
tell you something right now.
That was schooling. That's what that was. That was straight schooling.
Oh, I thought this past Saturday was school.
No, you can't school a one-arm man unless, I don't know, maybe I don't know my boxing.
I saw him get schooled.
Yeah?
I saw him get maybe you don't, because I saw him get schooled.
Okay. So,
50-50, Floyd.
50-50.
I know you're watching.
Stephen A. says there should be less. Stephen A., you also point out that you believe most people do not want to see the fight. We asked the folks on the Twitter if they wanted to see Floyd Mayweather Manny Pacquiao rematch. You have responded, and you agree with Stephen A. 62% say no, we do not want to see a rematch, while 38% say yes.
And you have me confused with someone who cares what Twitter says about
the
that.
Twitter people care, and they have spoken. Our viewers have spoken.
I'll watch it. I'll be the only person who watches it.
Well, you could be the only one. They're just giving their response.
Yep.
They don't care that you don't care.
Stephen A. can put up the money, and I'll watch.
Rockets look to even their series with the Clippers after L.A. stole Game 1 in Houston without CP3. Paul is currently sidelined after injuring his left hamstring in the first round against San Antonio. Clippers coach Doc Rivers spoke about CP3's chances to play in tonight's game.
Yeah, I'd say 50-50. I just don't really know. Honestly, my gut, I would say before last night, I thought there would be a good chance, and so I'd probably lean that way. But I just don't know. He looked good walking today, but I really don't have a clue right now. I'll find out more tonight. And it's an injury you can't do an X-ray and say that you're all right. It's an injury that you got to trust your player, which is the worst guy to trust in this situation, So at some point he's going to play, and when he does, we're going to be sweating because we're going to not know until he gets out there.
Seemingly honest, Doc's son, Austin Rivers, started Game 1 in place of Chris Paul and would start tonight if Chris Paul is unable to go. So we're putting Doc Rivers on the hook. Stephen A., do you believe that Chris Paul should be playing in tonight's game?
Not at all. If I were Doc Rivers, I would ride the wave and wait and give him 2 additional days rest and let him make his return when he's in front of his home crowd back in L.A. Considering the Herculean effort that the Los Angeles Clippers put forth in Game 1, I can't say enough about the job that they did. I'm going to ride that wave for the time being and see where it takes me for Game 2. That's 2 additional days of rest for Chris Paul. That's what I would be focusing on if I were Doc Rivers and the Los Angeles Clippers. And if they, through some miracle, Skip, manage to beat the Houston Rockets again in Game 2, I might consider letting Chris Paul rest for Game 3. Because that hamstring, it's going to be needed for the Western Conference Finals. Take this into consideration, Skip. Without Chris Paul, James Harden was held and limited to 13 shots and just 20 points. Had 12 assists, but had 20 points. With Dwight Howard, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks. And the Houston Rockets were still minus 14 when he was on the floor. With Jason Terry in the starting lineup, obviously because Patrick Beverly is out, they were minus 25 with him on the floor. I'm just looking at these numbers, and I find myself relatively shell-shocked. Josh Smith, 3 of 12 from the field. Corey Brewer, 3 of 12 from the field. I'm just looking at these guys right now, and I'm saying, wait a minute, I may have something going here. I may be able to buy Chris Paul significant time. Why upset the apple cart? Austin Rivers, if nothing else, gives you incredible effort on a defensive side of the floor and clearly can cause problems. But when you add to that the fact that he came in there, in the starting, doing what he did in the starting lineup, played 28 minutes in Chris Paul's absence, 5 of 12 from the field, 17 points, plus 3 when he was on the court. By the way, Skip, just 3 turnovers. Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. Ride the wave. Ride the wave. Because if they can do this again without Chris Paul, you're buying him time. And you're elevating your team's confidence. Because we all know what you're going to do once Chris Paul gets back, if he's healthy enough to do what he is capable of doing. But only time will enable him to do that. If they win, let me tell you something, I wouldn't play him tonight. And if they were to win tonight, I might not play him Friday.
By the way, quick thought on Austin Rivers. I am so happy for that young man that he's getting a shot and seizing the night after night. He had a rocky start to Game 1 at Houston. First quarter looked a little overmatched, but after that, second half, he scored 14 out of 17 in the second half. Way to go, Austin. I was always a big fan.
Yes, sir.
I thought New Orleans made a good draft pick there. For whatever reason, he never quite fit in. Then he went to Boston, and I was afraid
he's in the right place.
Yeah, I would say he's in the right place.
He's in the right place. He still needs to develop. He still needs to develop.
Yeah, he does.
He still needs to develop. and he needs to play for a coach who believes in him and who believes in him more than his daddy.
So
this is a perfect case.
Now back to Kerry's question, which is a great question that I don't think there's a great answer to. Doc nailed it when he said you can't MRI this, you can't X-ray it. You just can't know about the biggest muscle in your body, the hamstring. You trust the player, but a lot of times, as you well know, Stephen A., the player's going to just want to play. I just want to play. Well, how much at risk is a strained hamstring to becoming a full-on tear or a pull, a spasm? I don't know. It's just hard to know. It's hard to guess. But here's my point back to you. Playing devil's advocate here. My instinct is, because you and I have covered a whole lot of playoff basketball, these things can swing wildly the other direction. I think it's fool's gold for you to say ride the wave. The wave was great the other night. But remember, the wave didn't start until Houston was up 13 in the second quarter. 8 minutes to go before halftime. Houston's up 13, and I'm about to turn it off because Prigioni came in and hit a three. They're up 13. I'm like, that's it. Come on now, I'm out. I need one more hour's sleep tonight.
Right, yeah.
And all of a sudden, somebody made a shot, and somebody else, and all of a sudden, the Clippers sneaked back to only 4 down at halftime, and it was on. Game on. And Houston, that looked like it was going to blow out the Clippers, got blown out at home in the second. That's impossible.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't think it's going to happen again. I don't have that much respect for the Rockets, but James Harden is not going to be that quiet tonight. I'm sorry, in that second quarter when the Clippers creep back in the game, James Harden scored 0 in the second quarter with 1 assist. That's not going to happen again. I think he would go for the throat this time if they jump out to a 10-point lead. I think they got humiliated. They got embarrassed. Blake Griffin was sensational in the second half with 10 assists just in the second half alone. Is that going to happen again tonight? I'm sorry, I don't see it. So what if, let's say, okay, Chris, let's take the conservative approach here. Just sit and watch. Just help me coach tonight. And he says, okay, coach, whatever you say. And all of a sudden you go home 1-1 and you've lost a little momentum, and Chris is a little rusty in game 3. I'm with you. If you steal game 2 tonight, then you don't play him in game 3. That's great. That works because you're in a commanding position if you go home 2-0 up. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. So to me, it's dicey, and you got to trust Chris Paul, who's been around for a while. He is the president of the Players Association. I mean, at some point, Doc Rivers just has to say, Chris, can you go? You tell me. And if Chris says, I can go, coach, I'm fine, I think you got to let him go because this is it, man. You got a chance, I think. I hate to say, I know you don't want to hear this, but I think the Los Angeles Clippers have a chance to win the NBA championship. That's how they are coming of age, right before your eyes. This is some special stuff that is happening with the Clippers. I know the bench isn't great, but Austin's starting to give them a little bit of a bench I didn't think they had. Baby's starting to play a little bigger and a little bigger. I'm starting to think they got a real shot. Golden State's going to have a battle with Memphis. I don't know. That's why Chris Paul, it's up to him. You feel of it, you trust yourself, you trust your player, and you just have to go with it. And if he can go, he should go tonight. That's just me.
Well, I disagree with you. I disagree with you because I think that it's going to be the long haul, the long haul. And so because of that, he could come and go for you tonight and re-aggravate the injury. Yeah. I think additional rest only helps.
I mean, that's
for me,
that's the conservative way. Unless you lose tonight and get in trouble.
But what I'm saying to you is that you usually go on the road with the goal of stealing a game so you can get home court advantage. They already did it. So all I'm saying to you is that if you're going to take a chance, okay, you take it for tonight's game 2 because you're on the road. If the Clippers were trying to protect home court and you wanted to make sure you went out there and did that and game 2 was at the Staples Center instead of in Houston, then I would agree with you.
Okay.
But because it's on the road and games 3 and 4 are there in Los Angeles, by the way, I'll be there, by the way. The point is that games 3 and 4
are official. Wait a second. When are you going to L.A.?
I'll be there for game 3.
Oh.
Sports Center and ESPN is sending me out there for Game 3.
Wow.
I mean, you know the party starts, y'all. Come on now. So the point that I'm trying to make to you is the point that I'm trying to make to you is that Game 3 is in Staples Center, and he could return for that.
Sure.
But they already accomplished their goal in Houston. I think those 2 additional days of rest are going to be incredibly beneficial for him.
Okay, last quick point. I'm not saying the Houston Rockets are the San Antonio Spurs, but the Spurs had a real shot of winning 3 games at Staples in the previous series. 3 games, not 2, 3. Give me 1 foul call, Tim Duncan on Chris Paul, and all of a sudden my Spurs win 3 times at Staples. So it's a little home court disadvantage so far in the playoffs.
Well, you can say that, but I could also retort by telling you that they did win games 4 and 6 in San Antonio.
Right.
And they won game 1 in Houston. So if you've proven you can win on the road, what's wrong with holding them out on the road when you know you're going home because you're buying him 2 additional days rest so he'll be okay and ready to go?
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
The Patriots claimed the Lombardi Trophy after defeating the Seahawks in Super Bowl 49, but they don't have the top spot in our offseason hierarchy. Take a look. The Seahawks are number 1 on ESPN.com's post-draft NFL power rankings, followed by the defending champions. At number 2, Packers, Broncos, Colts round out the top 5. Stephen A., take a look at this list. Your thoughts? Are you okay with Seattle being ranked higher than the Patriots?
Well, right now I can't see, just some technical difficulties, but we're fine. But I will tell you this. I have no problem with Seattle being ranked higher than New England, Skip, because of the losses that the New England Patriots have suffered in terms of Wilfork and Revis and Brown and those guys. And then I'm looking at Seattle. They've remained relatively intact. And then on top of it all, they went out and got Jimmy Graham from New Orleans. Their Achilles heel has been Russell Wilson being devoid of that elite tight end that can go up and get passes because of their athleticism and their prowess on the offensive side of the ball. They haven't had that. They've had large wide receivers. They obviously have beast mode himself, Marshawn Lynch. But acquiring Jimmy Graham, who, by the way, Seattle's defense was his kryptonite because against anybody else, Jimmy Graham could be big time. Against Seattle, he couldn't do anything. Now he doesn't have to worry about them at any other time but in practice. So because of that, I think that's going to embolden him even more. That's going to elevate him. That's going to give Russell Wilson an even bigger target. It's going to make their offense that much more formidable, and we know their defense is not going anywhere. Plus, they've got an axe to grind, and they've got an attitude, not only because they lost the Super Bowl, but because they weren't 100% going into the Super Bowl. The Cam Chancellor injuries, the Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas injuries, etc. So they've remained intact. Their defense is expected to be lethal, and their offense is going to be that much better because they've added Jimmy Graham to an already big mix. And remember, that big wide receiver, relatively unknown until the Super Bowl. And then we noticed when he scored touchdowns, he had some size and mass with them as well. Lockett to go along with him, to go along with Jimmy Graham. I definitely think that the Seattle Seahawks should be the favorites over everybody. Everybody.
You know what? I must admit, as the Patriots supporter on this show, I did pick them to win the Super Bowl, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the record.
Okay.
They shouldn't have won, but that's okay.
It was a great play.
Was it? What happened exactly?
It was the play of my career.
Of your career?
Of all my career. I've never seen a greater, more shocking, more spectacular,
Worst call,
more rewarding
call in
play.
Super Bowl history.
There it is. Oh,
Okay.
wait, he intercepted it at the goal line.
Can you believe
Malcolm Butler from West Alabama just intercepted the pass that won the Super Bowl?
He also
Are
got a
you
truck
kidding
for
me?
that. Remember,
He
Tom
got a
Brady gave him
truck.
his
Way to go, Tom.
Yeah.
And Tom, I hope you've recovered from Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, but that's okay. I'm sure you have.
Stop bothering him.
I'm
Skip.
not bothering
Stop
him.
bothering
I love Tom
him.
Brady.
It's
He's going to be great
season.
next year.
It's the off
He
season.
can have as many
It's the
adult
off
beverages
season.
as
He
he
can do
wants.
what he wants.
Trust me, this week he
Leave
was back
him alone.
to working hard at the Patriot facility,
Yes,
as
he was.
should be.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
I hope he parties again this week.
I hope so, too.
You probably do. You are exactly right about this. In fact, just on what the Patriots have to work with at this moment, I don't even think they should be ranked second. I think they should fall down to fourth or fifth, which would be fine with me because it's a long way to go to game 1, and then it's a long way to go to game 16. But with the losses they sustained, obviously, we've gone over and over. Revis and Brown are alone. It's just so much. Wilfork goes to Houston. They drafted the next Wilfork. Not that he's exactly that player, but Malcolm Brown can play. I always liked him. I watched a lot of Texas football, and it was a great bottom of the first round pick. A big young man who will be plugged in and will hold his own as an anchor of that defensive front. But he's just a kid. He's just a rookie. I thought they got a steal in the 4th round in Trey Jackson, Stephen A., because as Rick Trickett, the assistant head coach at Florida State to Jimbo said, he's the offensive line coach, he said they got a steal. They got a 2nd-round pick in the 4th round. Trey Jackson's just a football player. He's offensive guard, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Just watch. He'll be plugged right in, probably as a starter in that offensive line, and he will help to shore it up even more for Tom Brady. But yesterday, they released, it was a shock to me, Alfonso Dennard, who was ranked number 1 on the depth chart at cornerback. I have no idea. He's had some off-the-field issues in the past. I'm not sure what they're going to do at cornerback. Malcolm Butler obviously will elevate, and I would think that he would play great as a starting cornerback. Not great, but very good. And from there, the defense still has a lot of talent. Gerard Mayo comes back. But at this moment, when I look at Seattle with the additions of Jimmy Graham, and by the way, speaking of a Lockett, that Tyler Lockett that they got in the 3rd round, every time I turn on a Kansas State game, he was just making play after play after play. He'll fit right in as their slot guy. He's small, but he is explosive. So I think they got a real sweet pickup in the 3rd round there. So they're really good. My only X factor with the Seahawks, you know the Legion of Boom guys, Stephen A. There's a whole lot of surgery going on, right, with all those guys in the secondary? Whole lot of surgery. Everybody had issues that were going to have to be addressed in the offseason. How will they all come back from all the procedures that needed to get done to fix the 3 stars in the secondary? They added Byron Maxwell, obviously, is out, but Kerry Williams is in. So, again, will Kerry Williams fit in there and be pretty good? I don't know, but they're still really good.
No room for excuses, Skip. I mean, they know they have to be ready. I've spoken to several members of the Seattle Seahawks in the last several weeks, and they are getting themselves ready. They are hyped. They are motivated. And they expect to make some big-time noise. They didn't make any excuses before the Super Bowl, and they're not going to make any excuses now. They believe they should be Super Bowl champions. They have never once spoken against their coach. Please don't get me wrong. That's me. I think it was the worst call in Super Bowl history. I mean, Pete Carroll is a great coach, champion on a collegiate level, champion on a professional level. I know people bring up stuff at USC and why he left. I'm over that. The man is a great coach. But what a god-awful call. It was just awful. And he will never get over it. I don't think he'll ever live this down unless he wins another Super Bowl immediately. And we'll always remember what transpired. But these guys don't think about that. Their mindset is so much adversity they experienced and they endured and went through to get to that point in and of itself. They deem themselves a success story, and they are hell-bent on coming back next year and making amends for what transpired this past season. Seattle is the team to look out for. They're going to make some noise, and they're automatically and instantly my favorite to take it all. They will win their division. They will win the NFC West. They will win the Super Bowl. If I had to bet my money today, that's exactly where it would go.
Okay, that's fair in early May to make that pick. But I am not counting out and certainly not writing off Tom Brady. I'll still take Tom Brady over Russell Wilson. In the end, I'll take him. And he ain't going anyplace. He's going to be back. Well, I know he's getting some age on him. I think he's going to have another great year.
Forget about Tom Brady's greatness. In all fairness to him, he is a bad man. He has been elite. He's a future Hall of Famer. And even when they weren't winning Super Bowls, it wasn't his fault because he was phenomenal. It's not about that. Keep in mind that there was a 10-year absence for the New England Patriots from a Super Bowl title, primarily because they didn't have that defense. It's not an accident that once they had Browner and Revis back there was when they won the chip. Even though they had gone to 2 Super Bowls and lost, luckily, according to you, to the New York Giants, or unluckily in the case of the New England Patriots, the fact is they didn't win a Super Bowl in 10 years with Tom Brady being great. I think Tom Brady's going to be great this year, but I don't think their defense is going to be. As a result, it's going to put more of the onus on him. Most nights he's going to get it done. Some nights he's going to come up short, and they're going to fail at their quest to repeat as Super Bowl championships. And the last team they want to meet in the Super Bowl, I promise you this, is Seattle. Because Seattle will not lose to the New England Patriots 2 Super Bowls in a row. That's not going to happen. So I'm telling you that right now.
Wait, we just got that on tape.
It's happening. Prediction, wager already.
Good.
The New England Patriots. The Seattle Seahawks will not lose to the New England Patriots 2 years in a row. That will not happen.
For only the 3rd time this season, Golden State lost at Oracle Arena after falling 97-90 to the Grizzlies last night. Curry struggled shooting, making only 7 of 19 shots, including 2 of 11 from behind the arc. The series is now even at 1 game apiece, heading back to Memphis for games 3 and 4.
There's been obviously a huge spotlight on myself and our team the last couple of days, and you don't run from it at all. You enjoy the process and the experiences, but it'll be nice to kind of just get back to the grind of trying to win a playoff series, and that's our only focus.
All right, so Steph Curry last night after the loss. Stephen A., how surprised were you that the Warriors lost?
I was a little surprised, but not tremendously surprised. I mean, it was MVP night. He was a bit distracted, meaning Steph Curry only shot like 7 for 19. The Splash Brothers combined shooting 13 for 34. That's certainly not what we're accustomed to seeing from them, these sharpshooters, these marksmen. But the Memphis Grizzlies deserve a boatload of credit. Opening tap, I watched this game skip from start to finish. Opening tap, Zach Randolph came out there with instantly physical. And Mike Conley, who's gone game 1, gone the final 2 games of Memphis' first-round series after having that nasty left eye injury that required surgery. This guy showed up and played. I mean, he had like 9 points in his first 6 minutes of action on the court last night. And you got to keep in mind, and Skip, you know this just as well as me because Tony Allen is a friend of the show. We've got mad respect for this brother. He's a rough rider, and he goes out there. He doesn't get steamrolled over. He doesn't get punked. He doesn't back down to anybody. And I remember hearing on the court, and I'm not quoting them verbatim because I don't remember every syllable, but something along the lines of Mike Conley screaming at him, first team all defense. That's first team all defender. Because Tony Allen comes at you knowing that his responsibility is to shut you down. I'm not just looking at the 19 points that Steph Curry was limited to. I'm looking at the 19 shots. I'm looking at 36% shooting from the field for a guy named Steph Curry, who shot 48% from the field during the regular season and 44% from three-point range. He hit 2 of 11 three-pointers last night. Tony Allen and those boys and Mike Conley were all over him and Klay Thompson. They flat out balled. And it's going to be really interesting to see how Golden State responds. Because here's the thing. Now that you don't have to concentrate on the MVP and all of this other stuff, and Steph Curry makes a valid point with that, the flip side to this is this, Skip. The Splash Brothers, the catalyst for the Golden State Warriors, the Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Yep.
The catalyst for the Memphis Grizzlies is Mike Conley and Tony Allen. We know Marcus Gasol and Zach Randolph and what they do in the low post. They're not going to get put down by anybody. A matter of fact, let's be real. They need to get the edge over Andrew Bogut, David Lee, Maurice Spates, not so much Draymond Green, because you know I love that brother. But I'm just saying to you that it's about the Splash Brothers against Conley and Tony Allen. And Conley and Tony Allen this is not about who outscores. It's about Conley and Tony Allen dictating terms and pace. If you struggle to score, and you struggle to score from the perimeter, and they are in your face all night long, and they're making you start your offense further away from the basket, and it's not that easy to get around screens and stuff like that, you are inhibited. So it's going to be real interesting. Memphis just made this a series last night and put the basketball world on notice. Not so fast. Y'all still have us to deal with.
I hear everything you just said. I wasn't that surprised by what happened last night, and I also watched it to the last dribble because I thought in the fourth quarter, because of what Golden State had done at New Orleans in Game 4, a 20-point comeback in the fourth quarter, I just thought Steph might finally find the range and figure it out. And in the fourth quarter, Steph from the three-point line went 0 for 4. It was the wrong place at the wrong time for the home team last night. And you and I have covered many nights in which MVPs have been awarded. And I've seen this happen so many times when this MVP, Steph Curry, very deserving, but he was so drained and so distracted by this great moment in his life. And then I think he felt a little undue pressure on this night to live up to his new MVP award on the very night that Mike Conley made his courageous return to the Grizzlies. And Tony Allen took it as a challenge, as he said before the game. And he wasn't paying disrespect, I think, to the new MVP, Steph Curry. But he basically said, nothing I ain't ever seen before. He actually used a triple negative, and I can't remember how to say it exactly. But he was saying, it's nothing that special, nothing I haven't seen before. And again, as you say, Stephen A., Tony Allen is the roughest rider. He took it as a challenge, no disrespect, but he guarded Clay some, he guarded Steph some, Mike Conley guarded Steph some, and they both did a hellacious job on those two shooters. And as we often have talked about on this show, Stephen A., you and I, you live and you die by that beautiful three-point shot. And last night, they pretty much died by it, but it had a whole lot to do with Memphis. The defense Memphis played to hold Golden State to 90 at home is just unbelievable. To force Golden State into this, the first time at home all year, they had more turnovers than they had assists. That speaks volumes of the Tony Allen-led defense. So I think it's game on, series on. It's going to be a battle. I know Steph Curry will snap out of it and take a deep breath and play better at Memphis in Game 3. But it was just too much because think of where he came from to get that MVP.
I always say this. Remember when he was on the show in Houston?
I do.
And he wasn't even an all-star.
He wasn't an all-star. And remember, he's having terrible ankle issues.
I never thought he could be healthy.
Remember, no one recruited him out of high school in Charlotte, certainly not North Carolina. He winds up at Davidson, had to stay for 3 years, not 1 or 2, 3 years. And came from that through the ankle injuries to MVP. He deserved to have a night.
He deserved it.
Listen, the brother's special. There's no question about it. But Tony Allen reminds you that there are two sides to playing basketball. You got the offense, he plays defense. Mike Conley is as steady and as disciplined as they come. It's going to be interesting.
Well, you may have been watching Inside the NBA last night and noticed studio host Ernie Johnson was not there. He was at the Sports Emmys along with some of our colleagues. He was nominated for Best Studio Host, as well as our former colleague, the late Stuart Scott. Ernie won the award, but when he did, he said, as for this, there's only one place this belongs. That's the mantle of Stuart Scott's house. He then called up his daughters, Taylor and Sydney, and asked them to receive the reward on behalf of their father. It was really a touching moment. And then he went on to talk about his relationship with Stuart Scott and how much he cared about him. Last night, you may have heard some of his colleagues, Shaq, Chuck, Kenny, all say that that's the type of guy Ernie Johnson is, a true class act. It was extremely emotional, as we saw from the video. Stephen A., did you want to react to that?
Ernie Johnson is a special man. Obviously, his battle, we know about his battle with cancer, and he's an incredible studio host. He's a man that I've had the pleasure of meeting and talking to on several occasions. But whatever he is as a professional, we've always known him to be even better as a gentleman, as a man, as a true gentleman in this industry. And that's why it was great to hear Charles Barkley, Shaq, Kenny Smith acknowledge who Ernie is and what he stands for. And Mike Golick and Mike Greenberg said it best this morning. If you know Ernie Johnson at all, there's nothing about what he did that surprises you. Stuart Scott loved him. And anybody that knows anything about this business loves Ernie Johnson because he's a special man. And on behalf of the ESPN family, we should all appreciate what he did yesterday, because as great as he is, Stuart Scott was as well, and we miss him tremendously.
I can only echo everything you just said. Ernie Johnson, classy man, classy gesture. He's great at his job, great at life, has had his own health issues, and can certainly appreciate Stuart Scott's lengthy struggle. And it was a beautiful moment, and it only made me sit back once again, as you did, Stephen A., and miss Stuart Scott even more.
We had several of our colleagues there honoring Stuart Scott. There was a tribute for him. Mike Tirico, Jay Harris, Sage Steele, Keith Olbermann, Susie Colbert, Hannah Storm among those. And from my understanding, it was a very special night. It was a good night to celebrate someone that we all love and care about. With that, we will close our show. We obviously still miss and love you so much, Stu. Catch you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can catch First Take Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2.